how to deal with comments and suggestions. Reviewer's going to go through, reviewer's going to make comments and suggestions. Now, let's look at the way this has to be dealt with. Comment. A comment is a remark, observation, or criticism. Therefore, people will comment on things and they will give you remarks, observations, or criticisms. And sometimes they will say things like, well, this doesn't make a lot of sense, which means they didn't understand it, which means you need to go back and think if you can understand it or figure out what's wrong with it. Now, a lot of times they don't want to correct it for you. And I'm not real sure why on that, because I would just as soon give you a lot of corrections in there. That's what a comment is about. Out of criticism, we have constructive criticism. Constructive criticism helps you understand the material better. Constructive criticism becomes an important part in here. And that's where they're saying, listen, I really didn't understand this. This needs to be rewritten so that you can make it up and fix it around. And sometimes they will say that. Sometimes they will give you a complete rewrite of the sentence. Constructive criticism, in order to be considered that, has to be valid. It's just not they're throwing something out, is they have to have a valid point when they say it. And it must be well-reasoned. If it's not valid and well-reasoned, it's not constructive criticism. It's just criticism or non-constructive criticism. Constructive criticism may be positive or negative. They may look at it and say, you did a really good job on this. This flows in this direction, and that's constructive criticism. Or they may look at it and say, wait a second, this makes absolutely no sense, and it makes absolutely no sense for this and this and this and this reason. So constructive criticism can go either way. Comments and constructive criticism must be seriously considered. You have to look at it and you have to say, wait a second, I need to deal with this and I need to be able to pull this in and fix what I've got. If somebody says they didn't read something or it's unorganized or it doesn't flow, they mean just that. Now, if you don't know how to fix that, you need to find out how to do that. We have suggestions, and suggestion means that it's mentioning or implying as a possibility. Well, maybe you should do this, or maybe you should do that. One of the key questions that I've seen asked at thesis defenses is, well, if you were to redo your thing, what would you change? Now, that's a loaded question, because you say, well, I think I would redo this entire experiment like this. And then they're going to look at you and say, well, why don't you do that? That's a suggestion. So when we look at it, suggestion means that you're mentioning or implying it as a possibility. Whenever you have suggestions, check on the qualifications of the individual. We get a lot of people got a lot of ideas on how to do things, and they don't know what they're doing. Check on the qualifications of the individual. And this is one of the big things you got to look at, because you want to make sure that you are constantly checking on the qualifications of people who are giving you ideas, because not everybody who is giving you an idea knows what they are talking about. So you must be careful with that. Check on the position of the person making the suggestion. If they're your advisor, you better listen, even if they don't know what they're talking about. It becomes very important to be able to look at this and understand that these become an integral part of how to deal with the problem. If the suggestion is relevant, then it must be seriously considered. Now, what determines relevance? That's always a question. But if it's relevant, it must be considered. How to deal with comments and suggestions? Part 1. Read the comment or suggestion impartially. Get your emotions out of it. You go, I worked hard on this, how dare they? Well, you got a problem right now. Because it doesn't matter how hard you work on it or whatever, somebody can find something to say about it. And a lot of people will, whether or not they've got any validity in there. So look at the comments or suggestions. Are they constructive criticism? You better take them seriously. Or are they just trying to get something on it? So look at it. Take your emotions out of it, step back out of it, and see if what they said made sense. And if it made sense, then go back and fix it. But if you got your emotions in the middle of it, you're looking at spending 2 or 3 years trying to get your thesis defended. Incorporate everything that is relevant. As you're going through and you go, wait a second, this is a format change, I need to do that. This is this, I need to do that. If you're going out there, well, why didn't they tell me in the beginning that no, don't go there. If they got a format change that you need to do, you make the format change. You incorporate all of that stuff. And what you get is you'll get about 85-90% of everything done without having any problems about it. And then you can worry about the extra 10 to 15%. If you have questions, go after the person who wrote the review. If you didn't understand something, go after the person who wrote the review. It's not that difficult, and they can look at it and tell you exactly what they were thinking at the time. Or they may look at it and go, you may be right. maybe this doesn't need to be fixed. Or maybe they didn't understand it the same way you wanted to write it, and they can give you a suggestion on it. Just because only one reviewer made a comment or suggestion does not mean that you can ignore it. In the middle of a paragraph, you have 4 people reviewed the same paragraph. 3 of the 4 didn't say anything, and one of them said, you need to rewrite this sentence because I didn't understand it. You need to rewrite the sentence because it wasn't understood. It's not that, well, I had 3 people say yes and 1 person say no, therefore it's a democracy. No, that's not the way it works. If the person comes up with a valid point, constructive criticism, you better fix it. I read through theses. I look at the literature cited. You have a whole paragraph in there with no references. Somebody else may look at it and not say anything. That needs to be fixed because it's not going forward in the way it is. Because it's not literature cited. You need to look at it. Just because only one brought it up does not mean that you can ignore it. Remember, you will need 4 or 5 signatures or more on your thesis, so make sure that everyone is listened to. The same way you don't want your time wasted, the reviewer doesn't want their time wasted. They spend time and effort doing these things, and as such, they don't want you going out there and not paying attention to their suggestions or comments because, well, you didn't want to. Because by the 3rd time they go back and correct the same thing and you haven't fixed it yet, they are going to get irritated with you. So you need to make sure that that works. You are requesting their time, so make sure that you show that their time has value. The same way you don't like to be pushed around or ignored, they don't like to be pushed around or ignored. This is a two-way street, which means everybody has to have buy-in into it. And if you don't have buy-in into it, it's not going anywhere. So therefore, make sure that you show that their time has value. And one of the ways is listening to their comments and suggestions and not coming back. If the same person makes the same comment or suggestions 2 or 3 times and you still haven't fixed it, you got a problem. How to deal with non-constructive criticism. Go talk with the person who gave the criticism and in a non-threatening way, try and find out what the challenge is. People write things down for a lot of things. I mean, that may be a paragraph they were reading at a time when they weren't really paying a lot of attention to it. And you're looking at it going, what in the world? I mean, the worst review I ever got on a paper was someone who wrote down on it 1 sentence. This research is a pile of junk. And that's all they said. The other person who gave a review on that paper went into detail all over the place. What needed to be changed, what needed to be done here, what needed to be done there. And that was one of the best reviews I ever got. Because off of the first person, there was nothing I could do because I didn't know what was wrong. There wasn't a mark on the page. It was horrible. With the other person, there were all sorts of things that were there. So when we look at it, we're looking at how do we deal with non-constructive criticism? If you don't understand something, go back to the person who gave you the review and have them go over it with you so that you can understand. Go back over the material and see if there's something you missed. Before you go back there and you decide to, have a chip on your shoulder, go over the material yourself and see if you missed something. See if you left a line out. See if you skipped something. So that's very important there. Another way you can deal with it is have a non-biased person review the comments. Take it to somebody else. Have them look at it and have them explain to you what the person meant. And sometimes that's actually the best way of doing it because in that particular case, you can look at it and say, whoa, wait a second, maybe this is like this or this is like that. So it becomes a very interesting way of looking at these things. So when you deal with non-constructive criticism, these are some very good opportunities. Therefore, take-home lesson, how to deal with this stuff. Number 1, get your ego out of the equation. Sit back, think of things calmly. Don't let the person get under your skin. Review the material, see if what they've got has validity to it. And if you aren't sure, go for additional help. And with that, you can come back with a very good review of the material you're looking at.